Welcome back to Ancient Anxiety. Tonight, the air grows cool and still as we travel back to the year 1320. We find ourselves within the thick, moss-covered stone walls of a remote monastery perched high on a mist-shrouded hill. Here time is not measured by minutes, but by the ringing of distant bells and the slow stretching of shadows across the cloister floor. You are Brother Thomas, and your world is one of sacred silence, soft light, and the eternal patience of the pen. There is no noise here, only the muffled sound of your own breathing and the steady rhythmic scratch of a quill on calfskin. The morning begins in the deep blue shadows of the dormitory. The air is crisp and smells of cold stone and old wool. You wake before the sun, the wooden boards of the floor, smooth and freezing beneath your bare feet. You dress in your heavy brown habit, the fabric thick and coarse against your skin, a familiar weight that grounds you in the present moment. You move with a slow, deliberate grace, tying your rope belt with a simple knot, feeling the rough texture of the hemp. The monastery is silent, a vast stone vessel holding the quiet of the night as you walk toward the scriptorium for your day's labor. The scriptorium is a long, vaulted room where the light filters through narrow, arched windows. It is a place of deep concentration. You take your seat at a slanted wooden desk, your back straight and your mind clear. Before you lies a sheet of vellum, a piece of animal skin that has been scraped and polished until it is as smooth as silk and as pale as cream. You run your fingers lightly over the surface, feeling the subtle grain and the coolness of the material. It has been prepared over many weeks, and now it waits for your touch, a blank expanse of time and possibility. Your first task is the preparation of the ink. You take a small stone mortar and pestle, grinding charred oak galls into a fine dark powder. The sound of the stone rubbing against stone is low and rhythmic. Shh, shh, shh. A soothing friction that fills the quiet room. You add a few drops of wine and gum, Arabic stirring slowly until the liquid becomes a deep, lustrous black, thick enough to hold its shape on the nib of your quill. You watch the bubbles rise and pop on the surface of the ink. A tiny, slow universe contained within a ceramic bowl. Now you begin the illumination. This is the slowest part of your journey. You reach for a tiny, fragile book of gold leaf, the metal beaten so thin that it flutters like a moth's wing, with even the lightest breath. You hold your breath as you open the book, revealing a square of pure, shimmering light. Using a fine brush made of squirrel hair, you apply a thin layer of fish glue to a capital letter on the vellum. You wait. You watch the glue turn from cloudy to clear, a process that takes many minutes of perfect stillness. When the moment is right, you lift a single flake of gold. It clings to the brush by static alone, a weightless glimmer of sun trapped in a dark room. You lay it onto the vellum with a hand that does not tremble. You do not press it, you simply let it settle. Then you take a smooth, rounded agate stone and begin to burnish the gold. You rub the metal in tiny circular motions, feeling the resistance fade as the gold begins to shine under your hand. The dull yellow transforms into a mirror, reflecting the soft gray light of the window. You spend an hour on this single letter, lost in the rhythm of the polishing, the world outside the monastery, walls fading into nothingness. As the sun climbs higher, the scriptorium warms slightly. A single fly buzzes lazily near the ceiling, the sound amplified by the silence of the monks. You shift your weight on the wooden bench, feeling the grain of the wood through your habit. You take up your quill, a long white feather from a goose's wing. You dip the tip into the black ink, wiping the excess on the rim of the jar with a steady, practiced motion. You begin to write the text, each letter formed with a slow, downward stroke, followed by a precise horizontal flick. In, prin, k, p, o. The ink flows onto the vellum dark and wet, catching the light for a moment before it sinks into the skin and becomes permanent. At midday, you pause. You walk into the courtyard, where a small fountain trickles into a stone basin. The sound of the water is constant and clear, a silver thread in the green silence of the garden. You watch a snail move across a damp leaf, its progress so slow it seems as though time has stopped entirely. You breathe in the scent of damp earth and rosemary, feeling the coolness of the shadows beneath the arches. There's no urge to speak, no need for words. The silence is a companion, a soft blanket that protects you from the rush of the world. Returning to your desk, you begin to paint the borders of the page. You use colors ground from the earth and the sea, ultramarine from crushed lapis lazuli, a deep celestial blue, and vermilion from cinnabar, a warm earthy red. You mix the pigments with egg yolk, the smell of the tempera faint and organic. You paint tiny vines that twist and turn around the edges of the text, each leaf a single delicate stroke. Your brush moves like a slow-motion dance, tracing the curves of the stems and the soft swell of the flower buds. You are not thinking of the finished book. You are only thinking of the tip of the brush and the way the color meets the cream-colored vellum. As the afternoon fades into evening, the light in the scriptorium turns a deep, dusty amber. The dust motes dance in the fading rays, moving in slow, chaotic patterns. You clean your brushes in a jar of clear water, watching the blue and red clouds swirl and vanish into a murky purple. You wipe the nib of your quill with a piece of linen, ensuring no ink remains to dry and crack the feather. Your work for today is finished. You look down at the page, the gold leaf glows in the twilight. The black letters stand firm and strong, and the vines seem to pulse with a quiet, secret life. The evening bell rings, a low bronze tone that vibrates through your very bones. You stand and stretch, feeling the stiffness in your fingers and the pleasant tiredness in your eyes. You walk back to the dormitory through the darkening cloisters, your sandals clicking softly on the flagstones. The stars are beginning to appear, cold and bright above the high stone walls. You lie down on your bed, the wool blanket pulled up to your chin, feeling the immense weight of the monastery around you. The stone is old, the silence is deep, and the work is good. Close your eyes now, Brother Thomas. The ink is dry, the gold is polished, the book is safe. Let the darkness of the stone walls wrap around you like a heavy robe. The world is quiet, the night is long, sleep. The vellum is waiting. Sleep, the silence is yours. Sleep.